So I've got 4 guns laid out here on the table. Can you tell which 2 are the real guns and which 2 are the training guns? This is a P365 with a 12-round magazine. This is the actual gun. This is the P365 by Sig Sauer, but it is a BB gun. Still looks like the 12-round magazine though. This one is the Shield EZ9 from Smith & Wesson. It's a real gun. This one is a BB gun from Umarex USA that is modeled after the Smith & Wesson M&P. Very close representations of the guns, but in between the real guns and the BB guns here. The only difference cosmetically you see right away is the BB gun has the thumb safety on it, but the real gun doesn't. The sights, of course, look a little bit different since this is actual night sights on the real gun versus just painted on sights on the BB gun. But as realistic as those things look, it would be very difficult to tell which one is real and which one is a BB gun just by the initial look at these guns, because unlike the airsoft guns, the end of the barrel on the BB gun does not have the red or orange colored cover on the end of the barrel to say that it's a airsoft gun. If you had that pointed at you, it would be very difficult to tell whether that was a BB gun or a real gun. The feel of it, the grip and everything, they feel just like the real gun. And it's a good training opportunity as far as getting somebody, if they're going to be afraid of, if they've never shot a gun and they're afraid of the recoil and just afraid of the loud noise and everything that you would have with an actual gun. The BB gun that's made exactly like the real gun is a great opportunity to train with that and get them some experience handling a gun, and then you can, once they get used to this, they can transition to a real gun a little easier than going from nothing to the real gun. Because with this being a CO2 gun, it does have recoil on it. You've got the slide release just like you do on the other gun. Now the takedown lever doesn't necessarily work on the BB gun like it does on the real gun, but the mag release, everything works exactly like it does on the real gun. Now the M&P, same thing. Now of course this is the EZ model versus the full size model, but the grip feels very nice. Handling of the gun, everything looks like it does on the real M&P. It's even got the M&P logo and everything on here, Smith & Wesson logo. So it would be very difficult to tell that from a real gun if you were just taking a casual look at it. Let's take a look at them and see how they do as far as actually shooting them. And we'll start with the Sig here. Now the Sig actually comes in its own box, and this one is made by Sig versus the Smith & Wesson made by Umarex. But you have the instructions in the box. They do send some BBs with the gun, but that and the wrench to open up the port for the CO2 cartridge is really all that you get with this gun. So to get to the CO2 cartridge on this one, everything is contained in the magazine itself. You've got the CO2 side here, and then the BBs go in this section right here in the front of the magazine. Now it says that this is a 20-round capacity magazine. I've shot it several times already. I can never get that 19th and 20th BB to fit in there. I don't know, just know where I'm not holding my mouth right or what, but and if you're from the South, you'll get that joke. To get into the the CO2 cartridge, it's got a screw cover right here that takes that out. It opens up the hole for the CO2 cartridge, so you just drop that in. Now, with the way this goes in, you need to get this screw started and tighten it up quick, because as you push this screw in, that's what pushes the CO2 cartridge up and punctures it at the top. So you want to do it as quick as you can, because if you do it slow, it's going to let a bunch of the CO2 leak out. So let's get it snug up there, and then we'll do a quick turn to punch it and get it in there. Okay. Now, if you did that slow, a lot of that would leak out, and that stuff is pretty cold coming out because it is a compressed gas. Now, let's get some BBs and get it loaded up. Now, the loading port on this one is right there at the top of the magazine. You just drop it down in there. Now, you're not going to load this thing real quick, and it's got a follower right there that you have to pull down and put into that little notch to hold it down while you're putting the BBs in. So we'll go ahead and drop some in here. Okay, that's 18 in there, and I can already see the BB at the top, so I don't see how there's enough room to get a 19th and 20th in there. So I'm gonna call it a 18 round magazine. When you finish uploading, you've got to release the follower right there and do it slowly, because if you let it pop out too much, it could knock a few of the BBs out of the top of the slide or the magazine there. So you just load it up like you normally would, and then we'll head up to the line and start shooting. I do have the safety in the off position, so it should be ready to fire. Okay. Looks like it's out of BBs. So, and when it's out, it does lock the slide back to let you know that it's out. So, and it just releases back. So let's put a few more in here, and we'll see how many rounds we can get out of one CO2 cartridge. Got to take that thing down slow and get it locked in place. Okay, got that unlocked. Yeah, you only get one magazine. You can buy accessories for these and get more magazines if you want to. Losing so many BBs out here. Okay, third magazine. Let's see how we do. Okay, so this is magazine 5. Let's see how many out of magazine 6 we can get in here. Yeah, it's starting to get a little weaker. This is magazine 8, so I'm gonna guess that it's probably gonna die on this one, but we'll see. Okay, it must be out of juice.
7 and 15.
Yep. Got about there. Oh, I think that's actually it. So you had to re-rack it a little bit for that last one, but it got out 8 magazines, and some of them actually did get 19 BBs in there versus 18. So good many rounds. Let's go down here and check it out and see how it shot. Tore the center of the target up there, and it has very minimal recoil, but there is just a little bit of felt recoil in the gun. It's not even as much as recoil as like a 22 would have, but it does give you the sense of a little bit of recoil, and the trigger, of course, is not quite the same as the real gun, but it does function very similar to the real as far as it doesn't feel real gritty or anything like that. And you got to let the trigger out far enough to get the full reset of the trigger to be able to shoot the gun again. So it's a very good simulator for the real gun, and you can shoot pretty accurate with it. So let's check out the next one. This is the version of the M&P 2.0 from Umarex USA, and it's a very nice feeling gun. It feels just like the M&P from Smith & Wesson, and very similar characteristics as far as controls, mechanisms, and everything on it. The safety is over here on the left-hand side versus on the back of the gun like it normally would be on the gun, but there is a safety on here if you want to use it. Now, again, the CO2 cartridge and the BBs are both in the magazine here, and the way you load the CO2 cartridge in this one is it goes in the magazine, and then there's a screw that you access by pushing the base plate up, and then the screw goes in the bottom of the magazine right there. Put the cartridge in, and then you take the wrench and screw that up and tighten it up against the cylinder. Now, this one, it did not come in a box, it comes in a plastic clamshell, so when you open the clamshell, there's nothing to put the gun back in. But it comes with its own wrench, and then it also comes with a couple of extra grip pieces to adjust the size of the grip if you want to do something different, make the grip bigger or smaller. So you got a couple of different back straps that you can put on to make the grip a different size to fit your hand better if you wanted to, just like they send with the real gun. So let's tighten this up and get some BBs loaded up and see how it shoots. So we'll get it snugged up to the bottom of the cylinder, and then quickly turn it and puncture the cylinder and get it locked in place. Okay, now this one works the same as far as the way the BBs load as the Sig did. You've got a follower that you pull down, and this one you push over to the left, where the Sig you pushed over to the right. and then it just drops in the hole right there in the magazine to load the BBs up. So let's get 18 loaded up in this one. Now when you have to push that follower back out and lock it back in, and again, don't let it pop out too quick or it's going to push the BBs back out of the top of the magazine. And it is on fire. Okay, so it locks the slide back again like the Sig did on the last shot. Now the trigger on this one has got a lot more travel to it than you would expect on the real gun. It goes back a good ways before it ever starts to engage, and when you let it off, it has a lot of excess travel to it, but not bad considering it's a BB gun as opposed to the real gun. So Carla's thinking ahead and brought me out some paper plates out here so I don't lose as many BBs now. So that's one magazine for the M&P. Okay, magazine number 2. Okay, so magazine number 3. That's 3. Okay, so this will be magazine number 4. Okay, so we got 5 out. Let's see how many we can get out of the 6 magazine and get it going here. Okay, so it got out the last shot, and it's out of BBs, but it's not got enough CO2 left in there that it's actually going to lock the slide back. So it's still shooting, but okay, it's dying it now. So 6 magazines, but that's still pretty good because this one looks like it uses a little bit more of the CO2 per shot than the smaller gun did. Bigger gun, use more CO2, makes sense. So 6 magazines out of the M&P, 8 magazines out of the Sig. Still a lot of training for one little 12-gram cartridge of CO2. So, and you can get the CO2 cartridges in smaller quantities, or you can get them in very large quantities. This one is a 40-round box, and this one is made by Sig. So it's just the pre-filled CO2 cylinders. You get those, and then I got the BBs. These are the Black Diamond .177 caliber BBs. These are made by Hornady here. So you want to use good quality CO2 cartridges and BBs in these guns because it will make them work better. And the cheaper BBs and everything don't tend to work as well. And of course, you don't want to reuse BBs that you get off the range or anything, if you can find them. If you want to invest in a training gun that doesn't use actual ammo, then a BB gun like one of these here would be a great opportunity to be able to practice with. You can practice with these if you set up a box to capture the BBs, and it doesn't take a real huge box to be able to capture the BBs. You can even practice with these inside. And with the ammo still being, it's getting better as far as the supply, but certain calibers are still not as readily available as others. Gives you an opportunity to practice and be able to actually find ammo that you can use to practice with. Minimal amounts of recoil, no noise, so you don't have to worry about wearing ear protection or anything like that while you're shooting these guns. Still wear eye protection just in case something flies back at you or ricochets off the target if you're shooting at a piece of steel or something like that with the BBs. But great products to be able to practice with and be able to work on your trigger control and sight alignment while you're shooting a gun that is almost identical to the real thing as far as the look, feel, and weight of the gun. So this is the target for the M&P. So it chewed up the center. Pretty accurate, stays within pretty much the 10 ring there with the shot. Easy to handle, good opportunity to practice. And if somebody is scared of a real gun, it's a good way to introduce them to firearms with the BB gun so that it's not quite as scary a prospect when you start working with it. So check out doubleeaglegunworks.com, like and subscribe down at the bottom, and we'll talk to you later. Thanks. Bye.